where the Falcons trade up to number 2 with the Cleveland Browns and select Abdul Carter. And what this costs Atlanta is their first round pick, their pick in the 4th round, 118, a 2026 first round pick, a 2026 third round pick, and quarterback Kirk Cousins to trade up to 2 to get Abdul Carter. They also got a 6th round pick, which you hate.
I hate, yeah. Y'all know how I feel about those late third day picks.
What's your initial reaction to that scenario?
I think if the Falcons felt that they could go and win it all in 2025, then that's the move that you make. But I don't think that sets you up for sustained success by making that move and giving up all of the things that you would have to give up in order to move into number 2. Not saying that Abdul Carter is not a number 2 overall pick. I think he absolutely is. I've mocked him number 2 overall many a times. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to be a top 4 pick. I don't think the Falcons are the team that should be in the top 4 to get him because of how much draft capital they would have to give up. I'm okay with the addition of including someone like Kirk Cousins in the trade. I think that the writing's on the wall with that anyway, so mm-hmm. I'm fine with that. But it's the future first round draft picks. It's the draft picks. You only have 5 draft picks in this year's 2025 draft class, and you have a ton of needs that you still need to go out and get. You have a lot of starters on the defensive side that you need to go and find. And I don't know if the Falcons are in the position where one player, even a player at the caliber of Abdul Carter, is going to change that.
Yeah. I mean, it would be so much fun.
Oh, it would be great. Oh, it would be great.
I'd be sitting here being like, yep, defense is fixed. Offense is ready to go. This team's going 13-4. Let's ride. See,
and I wouldn't. I would not be like that.
Yeah, but people know this. I'm an optimist at heart.
Right.
All I need is just flip that switch and I'm here.
Right.
I'm ready. Throw up that bat signal. I am the first one answering. But I like what you said. It's when you're looking at sustained success, and particularly what this team needs now are cost-effective impact players.
Yeah.
You don't want to get into the situation that kind of they got into at the tail end of the Dan Quinn, Thomas Dimitroff era, where you were like, we hit on a lot of these draft picks, but then you didn't really have the wave of replacements behind them where you could make some of these tough decisions financially and say look, appreciate your service. We got somebody waiting in the wings who is going to be a little bit more cost-effective. We're building a team. We got to keep in mind the balance. If you're getting rid of kind of these picks next year that are premium, first-round pick and a third-round pick, and you don't have picks this year, all of a sudden you're really having to build your roster through free agency, and that is just not a cost-effective way to create a roster in today's NFL. Yeah. So for that reason, as much as I would love the impact player, mm-hmm. I think it's more about the balance of a roster as opposed to a stars and kind of, for lack of a better word, scrubs approach.
Right, exactly. And I think, too, that if we're sitting here and the Falcons had 7, 8 picks in the 2025 draft class and had, had a true starter alongside Jesse Bates at safety, you felt good about where you were in the secondary.
If the Falcons were in a totally different situation,
then sure, this makes sense.
Okay,
but
interesting.
I'm not willing to sell the farm to get.
Even though saying the Falcons need a pass rusher, go get the very best one, a player that they feel could be on defense what Bijan is on offense.
Here's the thing: is I say this, and I say this a lot about quarterbacks and drafting quarterbacks. It's all about the position you're putting them in and the people around them, the infrastructure around them. And I think that's why someone like Michael Penix has the talent and everything to succeed, but he also has Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, Darnell Mooney around him. He has an offensive line that's been around him or has been together for almost 3 whole seasons now. So I think in the same vein, it's what would you be inserting Abdul Carter into? Do you have enough of the infrastructure to feel confident that this one player is going to theoretically, fundamentally change your defense? But if all eyes are on him, how can he?
That's a big question. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I love the answer to that. I thought you were very practical on it, which I didn't know what I expected, but it was
right. Did you think I was going to be like, do it?
Yeah, I kind of did. I thought you were going to be like, just let's go, Abdul Carter. All right, our second one. Let's say the Falcons aren't going to trade up.
Okay.
Let's say they kind of do what Terry Fontenot has said. We're considering it. and they trade back. Specifically in this scenario with the Ravens to number 27 overall. So in this, the Falcons would trade away 15 and number 218. So we're getting rid of one of those 7th round picks for you.
Hey,
I included that in there.
All I want.
Just ship it off. In return, they get pick number 27 this year. They get the Ravens' 2nd round pick, number 59, the 3rd round pick, number 91, a 6th round pick, number 183, and a 4th round pick next year. So you get really into day 2. Like you get a few bits of ammunition there on day 2, which is kind of like the strength, I think, of this draft. But you pass up potentially that option of one of those top edge rushers. And in this scenario, the shocking part would be that they don't take a defensive player at all. That at pick number 27, they say the best player on the board is Gray Zabel, the offensive tackle out of North Dakota State. But we feel he is going to be our all-pro center for the next decade. He's our Alex Mack.
No.
What is your reaction to that, Tori McElhaney?
So you had me until you named the pick.
Obviously, that's the shocking part.
I know, that is the shocking part.
Otherwise, it's just like a shrewd draft move.
I was literally like, do it.
Otherwise, it's like, let's crown Terry. He got all those picks on day 2. We're going to get another edge defender. No, they take the top player on their board, a surefire all-pro for a decade, Gray Zabel.
Oh, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like it. I don't like it because I feel like...
Man, when they draft him and this all comes to fruition...
I know.
Play this clip. Just put it up at the draft party in Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
It's just me on the Halo
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
I don't like it at all. But no, I cannot get over it and get past the defensive needs on this team. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not going to draft. The earliest I'm drafting an offensive player is in the 4th round of the, like, if the Falcons were to like continue with the picks that they have. I'm not going offense. I'm just not. So you're never going to be able to sell me on this because I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to not draft the best, even if it's the best defensive guy at number 27. I'm taking him. I'm not touching the offense. And I feel very strongly in this, if you couldn't already tell.
I was like, that was perfect. Thank you so much for that performance. Let's give her the Emmy. That was amazing.
I want to say it's nothing against Gray Zabel. I'm sure he's a nice kid, and I've watched some film on him.
Everything I've read says he's a great guy.
And honestly, like, I think that he's going to have a good career. I feel good about it, but not in Atlanta. No.
I think you just channeled, like, all of the city of Atlanta, the fan base. Like,
well,
I think that was a great preview of honestly what I would expect the reaction to be.
Yeah.
If they drafted a center in the 1st round, knowing what we know. But hey, again, head on a swivel here. Everything's on the table. So let's go to our 3rd scenario. The Falcons are trading back again. This time, I don't have a player named because that's irrelevant here. What's key is that they move out of the 1st round altogether. They say, you know what? We're fine without a 1st round pick this year.
Yeah.
We're going to move back with the Patriots to pick number 38.
Okay.
So that's who, is offered. We're trading 15 away. In return, we're getting pick number 38. We're getting pick number 69 in the 3rd round, pick 106 in the 4th, pick 144 in the 5th, and a 2026 2nd round pick.
Okay.
To move out of the 1st round, and your first pick is going to be, 6 picks into the 2nd round.
Into the 2nd round. Okay. I feel like if the Falcons could have gotten a little higher into the 2nd round and not having 6 picks, like if we're talking about the first 2 picks of the 2nd round, I think I could get on board with that. I worry though that I think there's going to be a run on edge rushers and D tackles in the final 5 picks of the draft. I think I've said this before on a podcast, but I think that because of the Eagles, the Lions, the 49ers,
the contending class,
the Kansas City Chiefs, who all
just saw Philly absolutely dominate and win a Super Bowl with their pass rush.
Literally, they all want and need defensive linemen, whether that be edge rushers, whether that be D tackles, and that's also something the Falcons need. And so I would be really worried that the caliber of edge rusher that you would potentially be getting to be kind of your guy would not be what you could get.
The caliber of
that you could have gotten before that run, I feel like is going to happen. So this is me kind of like reading tea leaves a little bit. The reason why I wouldn't do that is I don't think I would want to drop out behind those teams.
Okay.
For specifically an edge rusher. If you're kind of like feeling like there's an edge rusher in the second round, late second round, or middle second round, or even the third round that you feel confident about that could come in and be that guy and develop into that guy, then sure. But I feel like that's more of a gamble than having the opportunity to draft one of these guys within the first 25 picks of the draft.
Yeah, and I think that's sound logic. You know, you're willing to let somebody cut in line, but like not at the risk of moving to the back of the line.
Right.
Right.
And not even the back of the line, like the back of the line. You know, like it's like we're in line.
You're standing room only.
Yeah, we're not even in the line yet. You're just kind of.
There's the line.
There's the line over there.
We're almost there. That makes a lot of sense. It does, I think, depend on where that run is going to be, and that is some of the art of the draft day dealing, right?
Absolutely.
When everything is on the clock and stuff's happening, like you could just see a scenario where, all right, that run does kind of happen at the end of the first round, and there's like 2 guys left, and everybody then has all night before that second round, all day the next day to work the phones and say, all right, I really don't want to miss out on one of these 2.
Right.
We got to get in there. So, yeah, like there's going to be a lot of interesting kind of wrinkles, which is why that was going to be the shock. That's why we're here. Number 4, the Falcons stick at pick number 15. But instead of selecting one of these 4 players, defensive end Mike Green, cornerback Will Johnson, defensive end Shamar Stewart, or linebacker edge Jalen Walker, they select Georgia safety Malachi Starks instead.
Ooh, okay.
Still get a Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah, right, yeah. You still get a playmaker. You still get somebody who I think could help your team immediately.
It's a defensive player.
It's a defensive player. It is. So I'm not as hot about this.
Okay.
Like this is not a great.
This is our intermission.
Yeah, this is Tori's coming back to herself. She's coming back within her body. She's fine. She's okay.
Warrior pose.
I don't like it though.
Okay.
I don't like it because of who you're not getting. You're not getting Mike Green. You're not getting freaking Jalen Walker. Jalen Walker's available and you're
That's
choosing.
True. I should have put Michael Williams there.
Right.
I lost you at Jalen Walker.
You lost me as soon as you said Jalen Walker, I was out. As soon as you said the Falcons were not drafting Jalen Walker, I was like, and he was available, I was like, psh, get me out of here. Roll me over. I'm done.
Okay.
Like, there's no way. I think there is absolutely. I say this all the time. I don't think that Jalen Walker is going to fall 215 in general. I don't think he's going to. I also don't. If he's at 15, again, Terry Fontenot should be running the card to the board, like to get him because he's that type of player for me.
Okay.
I cannot justify not taking him if he's there. I can't.
So even though people are kind of like somewhat saying, well, the Falcons could use a safety too, which I personally don't see even before Jordan Fuller was here. You know, they could have used somebody, but like there are other areas that I think are just a little bit more impactful.
Right.
Especially when you got Jesse Bates back there. Like he just does so much for you on the back end that you can maybe get away with a little bit else.
I don't think that it's not a first round must have for me at safety. If we're talking cornerback, like if we're talking about the potentially the best cornerback on the board take Jalen Walker off the board. But if you're talking about the best cornerback or Mike Green, Shamar Stewart, James Pierce Jr.
If it's like Jahdae Barron, Will Johnson.
Yeah, then that's more of a conversation and that's more of a thought-provoking process for me. But the Malachi Starks of it all with Jalen Walker being on the board, I'm like, no.
Okay.
Immediately no.
Good to know.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. We got 2 left here.
Okay.
Number 5, the Falcons trade with the Jets to move up to number 7 overall. They are trading away to get number 7, number 15, and number 118 this year. So you're losing your 4th. And a 2nd and 4th next year.
Okay.
To move up 8 spots in front of Carolina to get Jalen Walker.
Okay, first off, I love that because I want Jalen Walker on this team. Second off, that's so much to give up.
You're giving up your 4th this year, so you would only have a 2nd round pick and then 2 7ths. Maybe you could trade those 2 7ths for a 6th. You know, you can rub 2 nickels together and make a dime.
Yeah.
But that really just it becomes, all right, Jalen Walker, how much
good
can you produce?
Right.
Sure, you got a 2nd round pick and that could be a corner, that could be another edge rusher, but like
But then that's it.
Yeah, you spend your tickets on a top shelf item.
Yeah, and I don't think
and a second and fourth next year.
I know. It goes to the whole conversation that I think we're actually having about Abdul Carter is like you're selling the farm to potentially get one player in that you are putting all of your eggs in that basket. And that's really tough to do in the position that the Falcons are in right now, the way that the defense is constructed. So it's almost the same argument. As much as I love Jalen Walker and as much,
I do think he's more versatile.
I do too. But I can't do that. I can't give up what I would need to give up in order to move up to get essentially one guy.
So those were the most enticing trade up scenarios I could think of.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say is that really any scenario where the Falcons are trading up is just kind of no bueno for you.
Yeah, I'm fine sticking at 15. I'm fine moving down and accruing more capital. But I'm having a hard time at this point in time moving up at all.
That makes sense. So let's move on.
Okay.
Last one here, number 6. The Falcons trade with the defending Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles, to move all the way back to pick number 32.
Okay.
Back into the first round. They are trading pick number 15, pick number 242. So their last 7th round pick, again, throwing you a bone here.
Thank you.
In return, they get pick number 32, pick number 64, pick number 96, pick number 134, 4th round pick, pick number 161, a 5th round pick. So that's a lot of picks.
Yeah.
They're all basically the last pick in each round.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of getting that second is a third, that third is a fourth, that fourth is a fifth, that fifth is a, so is that enough for you to move to the very back of the first round? Maybe that run has already happened.
Right.
So how you feeling about that?
I think of all of the options, I don't hate this one the most.
Okay. This is your least hated option. Okay.
I think that I could make this make sense. I think I could sell this. I think that I could, in my mind, be okay with this because of how much you are gaining and how many bodies you're gaining, how many, potential playmakers you're gaining. The Falcons have hit on some guys in the 4th, 5th round.
Can I tell you what I did with these picks?
Sure.
I went along.
I actually do want to know what you did with them because then that may change how I feel about it.
Because it was interesting. The edges weren't there to the degree that I expected.
Okay.
I thought maybe a James Pierce is still there. Maybe
I'm
Michael
telling you,
Williams
the run is happening.
Yeah. So
the run is happening.
Instead, I went with a player who really captured my attention at the Senior Bowl. Not Mike Green. It is Darius Alexander, the Toledo defensive tackle, who we kind of a couple weeks ago talked about Walter Nolan and just the strength and the power and all of that. And that is Darius Alexander. He's quicker than he should be for a guy his size, but he will just eat up blocks, hold his own, be really that true presence in the middle that the Falcons have not had in a long time.
Right.
Eddie Goldman was great for kind of the expectations I think people had, but
for retiring 3 times
but
before coming back.
There's not been this just big space eater, and I think of how do you allow everybody to play off of somebody like that?
Yeah.
How does Caden Ellis play off of that? How does Leonard Floyd, everybody? So that was my thought process there. Then with pick number 46, thank you so much, Philly. Or no, this was the Falcons' 2nd round pick. Trey Amos.
Hey,
so I got the corner.
Your boy.
There at number 46. Then, thank you, Eagles, I got Jared Ivey, Ole Miss, defensive end. So we're adding real power and strength. I'm kind of reimagining what the defensive line is doing. But again, these were kind of the best options that were available.
I don't hate that.
Right.
Again, this is
it's a different approach than I would have expected.
This is the one of all the options that you've given me that I could get on board with and feel all right, cool. I like the Jared Ivey pick. I like the Trey Amos pick. They make sense to me. And I think that they could be players that could work well off of the ones that are already currently here and what they could potentially develop into.
It does feel a little bit redundant, a lot of the same almost when you're looking at Brandon Dorless and Ruke Roro and David Onima,
But you need bodies.
Braylon Tri, it is a lot of just power, bodies, length, versatility. What can we do, right?
Yeah.
But again, is that throwing a lot of stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks? Is that we've got a clear vision for how all these guys, it's a basketball team, interchangeability, things like that?
I think if there is a vision, and I do think with this coaching staff, they talk a lot about the vision that they have for players and what they could ultimately amount to, and that's a part of the grading process as well, is the potential of players. And so I think if there is this, even if it's one of those things where it's you just got a bunch of dudes out there that can do a bunch of different things, I don't hate that idea because it goes back to what Jeff Ulbrich said in his very first interview with me in Studio A, his very first day on the job, is like, I want to do a lot of creative things and things that haven't been done before. So having different guys who can do different things, and there maybe isn't one specific carved out role, traditional style of playing, perhaps that's what they're wanting.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm always intrigued by people who are trying to think differently and go a little bit against the current of how everybody's thinking. So I'm excited to see how that pans out. But again, I just really feel like what Atlanta does, we talked more about this last week in our kind of edge rusher discussion, but just like what Atlanta does here in this first round, whether it is stick at 15 and make a pick or move around, like it's going to be so revealing.